Okay, so first off, just how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining my channel.
No problem. Happy to do it. Just tough finding time with the two kids and the time change over here in Sweden.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. I interview a lot of Swedish prospects, so sometimes I get the time change mixed up a lot. And there's been times where it was supposed to be 8 a.m. in Sweden, and I thought it was 8 a.m. here, so I totally faguled that one. But I just want to ask you a little bit about like your greatest bet of all time. Can you tell me about like, do you remember what your greatest bet of all time was?
It was probably pretty recently in the playoffs the other night, Toronto versus Florida. I think it was 3-2, and Toronto was up, and I just had a feeling that Marchand was going to be the Leafs killer once again. Biz had been all over him, and I was just watching the game. I said, this thing's going to go to overtime. It's going to go to overtime. So I had Marchand to score a goal in overtime at 55-1. And doesn't it go to overtime? And doesn't he score the goal that? And he did. He killed the Leafs once again. That game swung the whole series, and that was a big one. Sports betting. I had a huge one in craps in Vegas a long time ago with actually a couple buddies from Sweden that were playing for the first time. So anyone that knows gambling and casino gambling, the rookies, beginner's luck is a huge thing. So that was a big night and a big weekend.
Awesome. That's awesome. I love craps. I'm a roulette guy myself. I just like getting lucky. And yeah, beginner's luck is something for sure. So you were talking about Biz. Can you tell me your favorite story about Biz or something that kind of shocked you when you were hanging out with him or just his story?
Yeah, I mean, I played with him in Pittsburgh. We were in training camp together, and he was an 18-year-old from junior. He was a defenseman, and I was making the team, and he was kind of making the team, and nobody expected either one of us to make it, and we kind of kept going, and all of a sudden we're in all the exhibition games, and he got sent down at the very last day, but it was a huge surprise. So that's how I got to know him. Like, wow, that kid's pretty good, but he was a wild man back then, and I touched base with him here and there, but when the Chicklets thing, Whitney invited me down to do an interview with them down in Philadelphia when I was done my playing career, and I hadn't really seen them. So I'm hanging out with them, and we're having a couple beers, and I tell all my stories, and then we're going to the game. We're going to the Flyers Washington game, and gambling was all new. There was no online gambling really back then. It hadn't really started, and we're at the game, and I somebody on the video is like, "What's your bet for tonight, Murls?" And I said, "Oh, I'm like, we couldn't decide in the car who we liked, Washington or Philly, so I decided we should all bet the draw." And Biz comes on. He's like, "This guy, I don't know what he's talking about, but he's got us all betting the draw tonight, plus 320. I don't even know what this guy's talking about, but we all did it." And
Yeah.
the game goes on, and next thing you know, it goes to overtime, and we all win a ton of money. And Biz was like, "What is this guy? Like, what is going on here?" And maybe 6 months to a year later, they got the Barstool got the contract with Penn. Penn bought him to do gambling. So that's how I got in with Spit and Chicklets. They needed somebody to do some gambling content, and that was in Biz's head from that night. And then Whit knew me my whole like our whole pro hockey career, so he knew I was into it, and it's worked out great.
That's fate right there.
Yeah.
Incredible. I mean, what a great first impression you had right there. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really wild. It was no like expectations. I had just retired. It was in I think I was home for 3 months. I was waiting for my paperwork to go back to Sweden. We were having the baby in like 6 months. So I was just kind of hanging out and not expecting anything. I wasn't doing anything but having a good weekend where it's like, oh, we'll fly you down, we'll hang out, watch some hockey. I'm cool. And then it was a while later, I was coaching hockey in Rochester, just looking to maybe go into coaching as a career. I was testing it out there, and then this opportunity came up, and I've just run with it and gotten really lucky. It's a dream job.
Do you think you would go into coaching?
Yeah, I always imagined myself being a coach. When I was younger, my younger pro years, I never really worried about anything. I was like, oh, I'm just going to go back and be the assistant coach at RPI. I'm just going to live out my life working there. It's in my hometown. I love being there. And that was the plan all along. I never really thought about coaching in the NHL or anything like that. But I just kept playing longer and longer and longer. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go coach college, be an assistant, and just ride into the sunset that way. But this has been a wild ride.
Yeah. How has the transition being a professional hockey player going into hockey media and your platform evolving so much been like?
Yeah, I don't, it's been so wild. I hadn't really thought too much about it. Like I said, I stopped playing, and next thing you know, I got two kids, and that was crazy. And then this whole thing is crazy. And each week, me and Army get on game notes, and kind of just started with Chicklets. I was doing them whenever they called upon me, so maybe once a month, and then they gave me and Army a chance to do our own once a month, and then we've transformed that into once a week. I love it. I'm paying more attention to hockey now than I ever have. When I played, you kind of didn't want to watch because you wanted to get away from it, on your
Yeah.
off night so you could be focused. And then as you get older, and I was playing in Europe and stuff, and you kind of I don't know, you don't resent it, but it's hard to watch sometimes because you're watching players you played with or played against. You're like, man, I was better than him. Like, how am I not there? Why am I playing
Yeah.
against Sweden or Russia and this guy's playing in the Stanley Cup Finals? But as you get older, you get over all of that, and now there's only a couple players left that I even played against. So it's really enjoyable. I love watching the games, and I love that it's my job. I'm like, honey, I got to watch the games. I got to know what I'm talking about tomorrow when we go on the show. So I really love it.
It's like staying up late when you have a bunch of homework assignments and everyone's like, you're not going to be doing that, but you get to watch hockey for a living. That is so cool. Is there any NHL players that you played against or former teammates that want to go on the show or reach out to you and are like, hey, I need to be on game notes or something like that?
Most of them have all probably been on Chicklets, and I give Army a really hard time because he's in Pittsburgh with Sydney. He gets to see him a
Yeah.
lot. He's on the plane, so I've been on him every episode. Like, when are you getting Sid to come on our show? Because once we got him as a guest, then everybody's gonna listen, and that will really make us pop. Some other friends of mine, I have Alex Steen. He's a GM for assistant GM for St. Louis. He's one I've been working on a lot, but he's in management now, so he's got to keep it pro. I had my best friend Tim Conley came on a couple times, and he's not really big in it. He never liked doing media stuff, but he came on for us and told his stories. So yeah, we leave Chicklets does the main like interviews. We're a little more gambling, start it like
Mhm.
that, and we try to cover the junior hockey and the college hockey. So I've had a lot of guests like that. Ben Barr is one of my best friends. He's head coach in Maine. So we've had him on every year. He's our guy for college hockey. So we try to do Chicklets, but in a different way. And that's one way we do it is get college and junior guys as more as guests instead of like the NHL guys that Chicklets always has.
Yeah, I totally get that. So when Kobe Armstrong is on the panel with Biz up there and you're watching the games live, are you texting him during the breaks and chirping him?
Yeah, we have our group chat going all the time, and it's awesome when you get to watch them up there, and we're chatting stuff, and we're trying to almost help them. Is like if we can say something we saw, they'll use it, and Biz is the best. He loves shouting us out when it is something we've done or our terms or our what we said and stuff, and it's an amazing team. Yeah, it's like it really is a dream job. Like my wife, like when we go on these trips, I'm like, oh, it's a work trip. She's like, that's not a work trip. You're with your buddies. So you guys are all
Yeah.
out. You're out for dinner. You're having drinks, like watching hockey. So it's really nice to work with like really good people and buddies. These are teammates, old teammates. So it's really fun.
Yeah, when I'm watching just your channel or the panel with Biz, Biz is just such a icon now. I mean, he's really helped out media in the NHL for sure because I feel like it was a little far behind, and then you had someone like Biz that has kind of brought new people in, especially with linking in Pat McAfee and their show, as well as a lot of their people when he goes on there. But do you ever like try to talk to people like Pat McAfee and other channels or, collab with bigger NFL or NBA collaborators? I know Shaq Hyman with the Oilers with Biz is always there. So is there like multi-sport collaborations that you guys are always doing?
Haven't really thought about that. We try to stay. I try to stay in my lane. I got a nice little thing going here,
Yeah.
so I leave that to Biz and Wit and the big boys to do that. We kind of just stay in our little lane here. We're happy where we are, but yeah, we'd be open to anybody coming on ours and helping us out. And Biz is great at that. He's always mentioning game notes for us. He's always coming on. He was on today. Just he gives us a big spike, and it's we're part of it's part of their brand. It's all under the same umbrella. It's all under the Barstool umbrella. So we all try to help each other out. Like when we first started, Big Cat would came on our show a couple times to give it a boost, and I'll go on this Pick Central Barstool show and do picks, and everybody tries to help everybody. You saw just came out yesterday, Foreplay and Spit and Chicklets did a golf match together. So it's everybody helping everybody, and it's always more fun that way to help each other.
Have you ever been starstruck with some of the guests that you have on or met when you're golfing?
There's been a few where I was like, man, I I grew up loving that guy, but I was really lucky when I played. I played with Mario right away my rookie year, and then I was coached by Gretzky later on. So I got to play with and coach with my two biggest idols. So it's kind of hard to be starstruck, but I remember we did a Vincent Damfus article or interview that I was in on for Chicklets up in Montreal, and he was always a player I really liked. We shared the same birthday, so I collected all his cards, and it was really cool to meet him. So something like that, it was definitely cool. I met Charles Barkley the one time. That was really cool. That's somebody I thought I would never get to meet. I read his book when I was younger, and I guess that those two guys I remember recently being a little starstruck.
Charles Barkley is awesome. I went to the
Yeah.
All-Star game and um, my we were invited somehow to like Bill Russell's 80th birthday party, and we were sitting next to Shaquille O'Neal's mom, but we didn't know who it was, and she was like, "Oh, who's your?" Or t talking to my mom, and she was like, "Who's your son?" It's like him, and my mom asked who her son was, and she was like, "It's the guy talking over there," and it was just Shaq and Charles Barkley. So I got to say hi to them. They're awesome guys. But
Yeah.
you were talking about Wayne Gretzky. Is there any funny stories surrounding Wayne Gretzky that you have, or just a memorable moment?
Yeah. Really the only memory, I mean, I got no, I got two good ones. When we played, only played 3 games for Arizona with him. And the first game was in Colorado. I got an assist in the first period. I was just on the fourth line. I was called up, but I got an assist. So one of the power plays later on, he's like, Maddie, go. Maddie, go. Nobody calls me Maddie. Like I'm Murls or,
Yeah.
Murley. And there's a guy, Matthias Tarnstrom, standing next to me. Matthias Tarnquist, that's been on in Arizona all year long. So I assume he's calling him Maddie. I'm like, you wouldn't call me Maddie. Maddie, go, go, go for the power play. I'm like, it's not me. Finally, like gives me like a little kick in the butt. It's me. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go. So I jump over the boards for the power play, go stand in front of the net, of course didn't get anything done. That was one. And then I think it was my last game was in Arizona against Columbus. I got the puck on the goal line and I start attacking the goalie and he comes out and he poke checked me. I was not expecting the poke check and he knocked it away. Otherwise, I would have wrapped it around in the empty net. So it was a TV timeout right after that. And we go to the bench and Wayne's like, Matt, why didn't you just flip it up and go over the stick and then tuck it in? I'm like, I'm not you, Wayne.
Yeah.
I'm fourth line plug here, just trying to pound it home. So those are two funny moments, but he was really nice to me. I've got to see him a couple of times now on these Chicklets trips and the finals and stuff. And his memory, he remembers almost every I don't know why he remembers me, but he always does. So he's really
Yeah.
cool.
So you were talking about Arizona. Did you ever get to play, or was Coach Petey the video coordinator there still, or video coach?
I'm not. I don't even know. It was so long ago.
Steve
I don't even know if
Peters.
they had video coaches back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
I
He
think it might
came
have been
onto my
before
channel
then.
yesterday. He
Okay.
he was awesome. Like
Hmm.
20 years experience plus, but he just talked my ear off. And then we were talking about Connor Bedard. So can you tell me a little bit about what you see in Connor Bedard? I'm a Blackhawks also creator too. So can you tell me about like do you think that there's this debate about Celebrini versus Connor Bedard? Can I get your opinion on this?
Yeah, that's different. I got to meet Connor. I did a little Murls minute with him before the awards and the draft that weekend in Nashville. He's a small guy. Like these young kids are so small compared to what we were used to playing against because the rules changes and everything. Nice kid, polite kid. I think he has a lot to change in his game if they want to like win. It's almost like he plays like those guys on the Maple Leafs. Like it's
Mhm.
great, you're gonna get all your points, but you're not gonna win in that fashion. He's got to be like stronger and more responsibly defensively. But he is. He's what, 19 years old, 20 years old. So I think when you see Celebrini, he kind of already is playing that way. He plays a simpler game, almost a safer game, is maybe a way to say it. More
Mhm.
like a mature game would be a real technical term. But either one, they're both going to have amazing careers. They're both going to get break records and break the bank and be Hall of Famers probably. Um, I just would like to see him play a more responsible game because I want to see them win. And it is tough when you're on a bad team like that. It is easier to cheat
Yeah.
because it doesn't really matter. You're not going to win anyway. So, um, if you made me take either player, wow, that would be a tough call. I don't know what I would do. I don't know. I just watched Celebrini on Team Canada in this World. He looked pretty good out there. I think I would probably just go with him at right now. He
Mhm.
he seems to be a centerman that can play both ways right now more than Bedard.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible based on the hype that Bedard had. And what I say about Celebrini is he's like a fourth line. He plays with a fourth line mentality, but he's a first line talent, and you don't really find that. He's just everywhere on the ice. So I do appreciate you for being honest there and saying Celebrini. That's kind of the answer I'm getting more and more. But to go back to your playing career, is there the greatest moment that you had, or you knew when you could make it to the NHL?
Greatest moment I always say is the first NHL game. It was the dream. It's what you all worked for your whole life. Your parents sacrificed for you. So that was a moment. It wasn't the best game. We lost. We were down 2-0. I was actually out there. I was a prospect. I was supposed to be good. So I was out there when we pulled the goalie and I passed the puck over to Mario Lemieux and he got it and hit the post. And then they went down the other way and scored an empty net. So I ended the game -1 and had no points in my NHL game. So it shouldn't be the highlight, but when you get to that moment, you make the team. That was the dream. Probably when I thought I could make NHL was probably in junior hockey. I was playing up in Canada. I was playing in the Tier 2 Toronto League where a lot of players had gone on to play college after that went to the NHL. And I started having a ton of success there. And my buddy Timmy Conley was with me. He was younger than me. And he was getting all this OHL interest to be the first overall pick and all this stuff. And we're like, whoa, holy cow, this is like getting real. Seeing that in that league when we're 16, I was 16. He, my buddy's going to could be the number one pick if he wants in the OHL. And then I'm getting all these scholarships. Then I realized like this there's a chance.
What was like the first thing or first wild thing that you bought with your NHL contract?
I bought the $50,000 SUV right away.
Nice,
It
nice.
was my dream. It was everyone's dream is to have that, and I got my money's worth out of it. I ended up having it. Wow, I want to say I had it for 17 years because I had it for the 9 years. I mean, or 7, 8 years. I don't even remember how many years I played in North America. So I had it for those years. And then when I'd go play in Europe and Russia, I wouldn't use it. So it never got any mileage or wear on it. So when I would come home every summer for the 2 months, I would just drive it again. So I got my money's worth out of it.
Yeah, you said international, you didn't use it. Were you did you use another car or was it just like taxis and biking everywhere or
No, yeah,
driver?
all right. Well, the first year in Russia was we call them gypsy taxis. So in Russia, where we were playing, you just go out and basically hitchhike. You put your hand out, and the cars come by, and if they're going your direction, you negotiate a little price with them in broken English and Russian, and they'll drive you and drop you off. So that was Russia. But all the other places in Europe, when you come play over here, first thing they do is you get here, they give you an apartment and a car, and you're all set up, all on the team. It's amazing setups.
What's the difference between Russia and Sweden to the United States living there?
Russia was a lot different. Just Our apartment wasn't nice. Like I said, we didn't like the traveling around. The food was brutal. There's not a lot of flavor to that kind of stuff. The people were always nice to me. I had no problems. I loved living over there. If I had kids there, I wouldn't feel probably too safe, like trying to talk with doctors and stuff like that and going to hospitals. It's just so hard with the language barrier. I wouldn't want to do that, but I never had any problems. I loved it over there. I was always willing to go back and play there. Sweden is amazing. It's very similar to the U.S. It's probably cleaner and safer. The food's definitely healthier. The people are healthier. They're outside. You're just always outside here. There's people always doing stuff. If you're in school, the kids will go out and play no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's raining, if it's minus 25, the kids are out playing. It's nice here. In Sweden, a lot of people speak great English. They learn at a young age. So as an American, that's nice for me. It's easier to play here. Where in Russia, we had to have a translator with us. Where in Sweden, I can kind of get around on my own and I can find a lot of really good food here.
What's your favorite food in Sweden?
My favorite like Swedish dish would probably be it's called korv stroganoff.
Hmm.
It's like these giant hot dogs sliced up, and then it's a ton of sauce on it, and then you put it over a bed of rice. It's basically like a kid's dish, but I love it. It's a lot of sauce on everything in Sweden, which I like. Like the meatballs are great with all this with the brown sauce, and but the korv stroganoff, look that one up, Google that one. It's pretty cool.
You were doing a video yesterday for your DraftKings partner just based on one of your betting, and you had this wrap in your hand, and I was going to ask you about it because it just looked so good, and that's why I asked about the food. It's probably a lot healthier than the United States, but can you tell me the biggest chirp from Biz that he's ever said to you?
Um, he's been on me this year because I called his LA Kings frauds because
Yeah.
I had my Vegas future and I just wanted them to win so bad. So he was on me pretty hard about that. He's still going on me. I saw him last episode even working me again, like, oh, tell Murls about that. So he's not really like the chirping type. He's such a nice guy. He's the nicest guy to everybody. He's not really a chirper. So that's probably the hardest he's ever been on me is when I called his LA Kings frauds.
And you were talking about the Leafs and how Connor Bedard plays a little bit like the Leafs. And there's like talk that Marner might be leaving and potentially going to the Blackhawks. Do you think that would be the right move for both parties, for the Leafs and Marner, as well as do you think Marner would be a good fit for the Blackhawks?
Yeah, I think it's time for Marner to leave there. It's just obviously it's not working for anybody. It's working in the regular season. I mean it does work like for that if you're trying to just have a good season, which a lot of teams would want. Like wouldn't the Buffalo Sabres give anything to have a winning season and make the
Yeah.
playoffs every year? It's just frustrating when it's the same thing, I guess, losing in the first round and the same things I said about Bedard, where sometimes he doesn't back check, sometimes he makes that high risk play that doesn't work. You watch the Florida Panthers. Nobody's making those kind of plays. Nobody's making soft hope plays. So I don't think you should have Marner and Bedard both making those kind of plays. You're going to end up really exactly like the Leafs.
Yeah, it would be tough in the playoffs. And speaking of the playoffs, who do you think is going to the Stanley Cup, as well as who's your Stanley Cup winner now?
Yeah, Florida's obviously going. The other series is tough. Dallas is going to be tough. I picked Edmonton. I don't. I bet against. I had Vegas, so I was against Edmonton last series. I never will go against McDavid again. He's just too dangerous out there at all times. So I'm going to stick with Florida and Edmonton, and Florida is going to win it again. They're too deep. They're too tough. They don't. And if they do give up a scoring chance, Bobrovsky's there. He's just this guy's. He might be the best goalie now. So they have the best team, the best goalie, best coach. So if Florida's going to, I think, repeat, I don't see how they don't.
What is one thing from a former NHL player that fans like probably don't know?
I don't know about an NHL player. I don't know. We're doing all the same things you guys are doing. We're having beers after the game.
Yeah.
We're waking up and we're stressing about other things. We're stressing about not scoring. We're stressing about not winning, and stressing about not being in shape. It's all the same stuff.
Was there somebody that you knew that had the weirdest pregame ritual, or was your ritual pretty weird before games?
I was pretty normal. I was very superstitious, so I did everything the exact same almost every day. Unless I was in a scoring streak, I'd try to change something up, but that's like every player. I roommate with Crosby, and most guys I always had as roommates would sleep from 1 to 3 or 2 to 4 was the pregame nap. He would only do like 45 minutes or an hour real early, maybe 12:30 to 1:30. Then he was up getting food and then just coming back and rest, like relaxing. He only slept a little bit. I guess I should have probably followed him with that, but
Yeah.
that was a strange one with the maybe the greatest player of all time.
Can you tell me a little bit about Sidney Crosby and like just a story that you have of him? I mean, that's such a cool once in a lifetime experience to be, live with him. So can you tell me a little bit about him?
Yeah, he's just the best guy. He really is. And I was only with him for 4 or 5 months before I got hurt, but I'm still in touch with him after all these years. I remember maybe 4 or 5 years after we played, our friend Ryan Malone, our teammate, was getting married, and he texted me out of nowhere. He's like, "Are we gonna be roomies for the wedding, like the old days?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, sure. I'm playing in like Switzerland or something." Like, yeah, I got a chance to room with Sidney Crosby. Like again, cool. So we did that, and he took care of everything. And I was still in contact with him. I texted him before he got over to Stockholm. I was hoping to get down there for a game, but now they lost. I was planning on going to the semifinals and finals, but they lost. So I'm not going to get a chance to see him here in Sweden, but I'm sure I'm going to run into him soon.
Yeah, that Denmark game was very wild, to say the least. But yeah, so is there like something that fans probably might not know about Sidney Crosby? Like, is he a video gamer or does he like board games or cards or something like that?
It was so long ago that there wasn't any of these video. It wasn't video games
Yeah.
like there is now. Yeah, we just kind of hung out. We didn't really do too much. He was so dialed in. I just remember him. I'd be going out for beers at night with the older guys, and he'd be sitting at home and having like the fruit platters and stuff because he was only 18, so he couldn't go out everywhere. So I guess I should have stayed in and had the fruit platters too.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And do you have like a Dave Portnoy story? I'm from Chicago and I love pizza. So when he does his pizza reviews, he goes to a lot of the places like Freddy's that I grew up on. So do you have a Dave Portnoy story?
No, I mean he's been awesome. He's an unreal boss. I've only got to be with him a few times, a couple times in Saratoga at the horses. I go up with him and Elio and get to kind of sneak my way into that group with them. And then we were on IceCon, Mr. Ice's event in Arizona 2 years ago now. And yeah, he's an awesome guy, just down to earth guy. Loves betting his games, betting his horses. And yeah, great guy to work for. He takes care of everybody. He's loyal, and yeah, again, it's a dream job working for Barstool and Chicklets.
And who is your favorite player of all time?
My favorite player of all time's got to be Gretzky, but since I played with Mario, I feel like I got to say Mario too. I grew up loving both of them. Joe Juno was a guy I used to really like because he went to RPI where I was from and where I ended up playing. So he was always a guy high on my list. Had a great NHL career. Um, I never was like I kind of liked AHL players because we had the New York Islanders AHL team in my hometown, the Capital District Islanders, and there was a guy named Rick Hayward he was a fighter. So this was when I was young. I loved fighting, and kind of like those AHL players better than the NHL.
What's your favorite hockey movie? Because you like fighting them. Is it Goon?
No, no. I'm old, man. You got to remember, I'm
Yeah,
old.
that's
It's
true.
it's
That's true.
definitely it's definitely Slapshot or Youngblood. And I mean, I guess I have to go with Slapshot. That's the holy grail. We watched it every single bus trip in junior on our way up to Canada. So Slapshot easily.
And you've been so generous with your time, and this has been absolutely incredible. Is there one thing that you've ever just wanted to talk about on a podcast or a show like this, and that you just haven't been able to talk about?
That's what's lucky about us. We are allowed to talk about anything, and sometimes you got to watch because of the sponsors. You can only
Yeah.
talk about certain gambling and stuff like that. But we're pretty lucky to be able to talk about whatever we want, and I think we get to do whatever. I mean, I would like to talk more about the Buffalo Bills if I could, because they're my real passion. That's my favorite sports team, and like the Maple Leafs, we never win, and it's always heartbreaking. So I wish I could talk more Buffalo Bills, just because when their season's on, I am fully engaged in their games.
Yeah, I'm a huge football guy. I used to know more about the NFL than the NHL up until probably 2023. Like when the Bills signed Von Miller for that 6 by 120, I thought they were gonna be a dynasty. I mean, they still have Josh Allen, and he's also like he's very really great. But I'm a huge Bears fan, so I love that you love football. Is there one moment like at a stadium or when you were playing that you realized that you loved watching football? Like, what is sorry, I'm gonna rephrase this. The Stanley Cup playoffs is usually regarded as the greatest playoffs in sports. But what is the difference between like a one game uh, NFL playoffs versus the NHL playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's just because it's so sudden, the heartbreak. I mean, the Bills that year against Kansas City when they had the lead with 20,
13
what was it,
seconds. Yeah.
13 seconds left, and then all of a sudden it's over, and you're like, what just happened? And the same this season again, like we had them, and all of a sudden it's over and we lost, and because it happens just in one game, it's not like over. Like, all right, yeah, I guess in a game seven it can feel like that, but I had to rewatch the game. What just happened? Did I really, is this a dream? Because it's so late over here. It's around 6 in the morning. And I'm like, wait, am I delirious? Did we really just blow that game again? So I rewatched the games. Like, what just happened? So that's what's tough about the one and done. But that'd be a game seven, I guess, would be the only difference. Where this Carolina Florida series, you kind of know what's coming if you're a Carolina fan. The writing's on the wall.
Yeah, that was such an interesting trade deadline with the Hurricanes when they went out to get Mikko Rantanen and then they traded for or they traded him away to the Stars and now the Stars might make the Stanley Cup because Mikko Rantanen had an incredible series against the Avalanche. So going through that trade was like what were you thinking during that time?
Yeah, that was wild. I thought Carolina was going to hold on to him and just make this be their run. And looking back, maybe they should have. I guess they
Yeah.
get Stankoven and what, two first rounders out of it, so it's not horrible. But yeah, Dallas already got it. That's already paid for with that game he had against Colorado to get him this far and give him a chance at the Cup. Yeah, Carolina it's kind of like the Bills. They have to run into Mahomes. They had to run into Brady. Now they run into Mahomes. Carolina, you're great, but you ran into Florida. When Florida put it all together, they're you but better. They're bigger. They're more responsible. They're more better defensively. They're you but better. It's just a wrong time to get good.
Yeah, and why do you think that players like superstar players don't want to sign long-term deals in Carolina? Because it's a beautiful place. I lived there for 7 years. North Carolina is incredible.
Yeah, I would have no problem there. Rantanen, I don't know exactly what his story was. I bet you, as a foreigner, maybe him or his wife wanted to be in a bigger city, a more, like Dallas, New York, Toronto, something like that. That's a little more friendly to the internationals, more stuff to maybe you find some more Finnish people and stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, Carolina's a great spot. I don't know. I mean, there's really not like big free agents as much anymore. Not like the
That's
old
true.
days because everybody's kind of locked up now. This Marner, that's why Marner is going to be interesting because he's the first like big point producer that's gonna be out there at a good age still. Normally you get these guys when they're 35, but he's going to be interesting for this free agency.
Yeah, he's 28 and he's probably going to command more than 14 million just based on what he's been doing. And his games from his game 1 through 4, he has been very productive in the playoffs. It's games 5 through 7 that have really hurt him. And I know that a lot of Leafs fans do not like him, but do you think Marner deserves to take like not deserves that, but do you think that it's kind of that it should be kind of on him too? You saw the clip
Yeah.
where he was yelling at his teammates and stuff, and people kind of got on him for that. What do you think
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, it's definitely on him because a couple of those plays he turned the puck over and he didn't back check. So that's number one as like a coach looking at it. But you want all that money. The way I look at it, like you want that 11 million, then you take all this criticism. You want to like sign for 6 million. All of a sudden you say, all right, I need 6 million. I'm a simple guy. I'm just going to live in a little house. I need 6 million a year. Then you won't get all this criticism. Your agent will be pissed at you. The PA will be pissed at you, but the fans won't be. They'll be like, well, he's only making 6. He's trying to help us. It's not his fault. It's the other guys making 11 and 14 because we can't sign more guys. So if you don't want that criticism, then play for 5 or 6 million so they can get 2 more players instead of having just one of you. So it's part of the business. I mean, as a person, as like, I feel bad for the guy, but back check or take less money.
And I have two more questions because, like I said, it's incredible to talk to you. You are a hockey encyclopedia, and it's been great. But when do you think the Blackhawks are going to be competitive again?
Well, yeah, yeah, it's tough. You gotta. I mean, you watch. Like I told you, I'm a Sabres guy. I like watching them. They can't get it back. Detroit, they've got all the prospects in the world. They can't get it back. It's tough to rebuild. They stripped it right down and are going to have to rebuild. I don't think you see them in the playoffs for at least 3 years.
And lastly, are you up to date on the NHL draft? Matthew Schaefer, the number one pick with the Islanders, or are you up to date with that?
I'm not. We try to follow it during the season. Once the playoffs like die down here, once we start getting into only one game a night, we got to think about. We'll start diving in more to that. Try to get ready for the draft. I still believe Hagens is going to go. I think the
Mhm.
Islanders. I think they got to take the local kid. I mean, you're trying to redo things. I think you got to take the local kid. Up until 4 months ago, he's been the number one for 5 years. And so if you got a chance to take a local kid. I think you do it. But on the other side, just today, Matthew Darsh got named GM, brand new GM. He's been assistant down in Tampa. Does he go and like kind of go? It's not off the board, but everyone's telling you to take Schaefer. Does
Mhm.
he go off the board or does he do the safe pick? I don't know. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. Misa's a big prospect. I actually coached 07s that year. I did coach in Rochester, but it was COVID. So we weren't
Mhm.
allowed to go up to Canada to play, but we all knew about this Misa back then. He was the big prospect since then too. So yeah, it's an interesting draft. I'm not up to date. I'm gonna have to follow you to learn more about the prospects and all that stuff before the draft, before I can make my predictions on the draft.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I actually got to speak to most of the top 40 picks, but I did get to speak to Matthew Schaefer, and he said his player comp was Kale McCarr. So if you're
yeah,
getting a Kale McCarr, you can't really pass that up. And I'm
yeah.
going to be going
It
to
would
the
look
scouting
bad if he
combine too.
turns out some even close to him and you passed on him. That would be a bad
Yeah,
look. But
and
I
it would
don't think you
be.
can get in trouble by taking a local kid though either.
Yeah, that's
So,
very, very true. He wants to be there. The one last thing was be Matthew Schaefer is a Leafs fan, and the last time they took a Leafs fan number one, he ended up going to the Leafs, the
oh, there you
Islanders.
go. That's
So
really under the hood there.
yeah, yeah, that would
That's
be.
digging in deep.
But thank you so much for joining me,
No problem. Thank
Murls.
you.
That was awesome, and I'd love to have you back on any time. But I know you're very, very busy, so enjoy the playoffs, and thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Thank you, buddy.